G'day guys, MFWest and holy shit is the hype train real guys. Wow. Alright, so before I get into that, I just want to congratulate Blizzard on actually identifying a spec that has pretty much been dog shit in comparison to how it performed in other expansions. This whole expansion has been complete dog shit. So congratulations for them on identifying a spec that needed help and by buffing it. So good job, Blizz. So all jokes aside, Unholy is looking great, guys, and this video is going to be designed for preparing all the Unholy players that are switching from Frost to Unholy for Sargeras, which comes out in basically a week from now. When that raid goes live, you want to kind of have the best idea of how the spec's going to work. I cannot tell you exactly what to run, but I'm going to give you my best opinion of what I think would be the best setup to run. So what am I addressing in this video? I'm going to be going over the state of Unholy right now. I'm going to go over stat priorities and stat weights, basically sims, and I'm going to go over talents and then rotation. Rotation and talents are the main idea of this video. That is the most important thing that I think people need to be getting prepped for. So the Dark Arbiter rotation is, you know, well known. It's gotten down perfect. Muscle memory, I recommend you guys practice a lot, but I'll get to that in that part of the video. So let's get into it, but before we get into the first part of the video, I'm really happy about Unholy's changes, and I think that this is going in the right direction, okay? So let's get into the first part of the video, the state of Unholy. Right guys, so in Nighthold, Unholy was suffering. It was suffering so much. We were last on all the sim charts, WoW logs for heroic, mythic, majority of fights, middle of the pack at best. Was not good. Didn't receive any attention, any hot fixes really, and not enough to actually make us relevant. So that was a really bad patch, and basically this whole expansion's been like that. So what's so good about this patch? Dark Arbiter, guys, tremendously buffed, and the fact that they buffed it alongside with the legendary shoulders is going to be great. The new legendaries we got are huge DPS increase to our rotation and our character as a whole, and it's just everything is being good this patch. So how do I think Unholy will do? I think Unholy is going to be seriously competitive, guys. Not like top 5, hell no. If that does, I don't even know if that could happen. Our force set, we don't know the numbers that we can be pulling off with our force set. It's going to be disgusting regardless. But I do think we're going to be like really high, high middle of the pack, which is a great spot to be in. Not too much attention, and it's not shit. So that's where I think we're going to be. I cannot wait to start testing out into Sargeras, but we're going to be very competitive. Now, from what I've heard, Sargeras is predominantly single target. Now, I will address an AOE build for the talent setups, but mainly going to focus on single target here, guys, because AOE rotation isn't that difficult for Unholy, and not much has changed. Besides Defile, I guess. Amazing talent right now, guys. Oh my god. Alright, so single target, but I'll talk about that in the rotation. So instead of Unholy, I think it's really good. If you're switching from Frost, do it. It's very rewarding. Unholy is a spec that you can put a lot of time into, and it is very rewarding. It's quite complex. It's not a very easy spec. You will find it way more diverse than Frost, and I just like how versatile Unholy is. I talked about in the 2 videos ago for PvP. PvE is the same. Like, it can change like that. The whole playstyle of Unholy can change. So right, that is stat of Unholy, guys. I'm happy with it. So let's get into stat priorities and stat weights of sims. Right guys, stat weights and stat priorities. How do you determine what are your stat weights? Use a program called Simulation Craft. If that name is foreign to you or you do not know it, I recommend you get very familiar with it as soon as possible. There's a video down in the description on how to sim your character. I recommend you guys check it out if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I'm going to show you guys my stat weights, and I will show you guys my current stats. So before we go and look at my stat weights, let's look at my stats. I am 912 item level. I have completely changed up my gear because of how I'm using the legendary shoulders along with Kill Jaden's trinket. This is the best setup for me. I've got legend. I got Pride boots. I have the belts. I have Uvenomore. None of those really good. I think Uvenomore will definitely replace the trinket once I get 4 set, but that's a long way away. So this is what I've got. I have 14% critical strike. I got 22% haste, and I'm rocking 84% mastery. So the reason why the stat weights I'm going to show you have changed around and haste priority has gone up is because of how Dark Arbiter, the current build that we're going to be using, works with haste. Haste means you're going to be getting more haste, means you're going to be getting more death coils, and thanks to the Unholy Discord, people actually figured out the specific haste breakpoints, which are 15, which basically each breakpoint is going to be like more death coils. So 15 is the first breakpoint, and then 20 I really recommend you get above 20% haste, guys. Get around 21%. I'm at 22%. After 20, the next breakpoint is 28. So 28 will come with 2 Sargeras gear unless you have a fuck ton of haste gear, and if you do, sim it and see if it actually is an increase compared to taking away all that mastery. Unless the gear has haste, lots of haste and mastery on it, then that's not bad. But yeah, haste value has gone up. Along with critical strike. Critical strike is a weird one. You're gonna see my stat weights. It's pretty high up there. Looking at that, I think around like anywhere from 14 to 18% crit would be ideal. I recommend having more than 10%. I know that all this haste mastery gear that you guys have, you kind of forget about crit, and crit is pretty important to have as a general thing, and that stat weight will rise up as you're going to see now. So I'm at 84% mastery unbuffed, 86% buff with food, and yeah, that's pretty much it. 4% versatility. It's changed up quite a lot. I haven't got a very good trinket other than Kill Jaden's and this 900 memento, but let's check out my sims, guys. Rightio, so I'm simming at 876k, guys, and I'll go over the talents that I'm running is Ebon Fever, Pestilent Pustules, Unholy Frenzy, Sludge Belcher, Lingering Apparition, Shadow Infusion, Dark Arbiter. Now, in the next section of the guide, I'll go over the talents, but that was what I was running. That was my perfect sim. So, stat weight, strength is now more than mastery. Even in 7.2 and Nightholds, with Sorry for Calling Shadows build, mastery was more than strength, and I was at 93% mastery. So that's completely changed now. Strength is very, very important, guys, and make sure you note that. As I said before, crit is now above haste because I've reached that breakpoint, but with gear, I will eventually, hopefully, reach the 28% haste, the next breakpoint, and then obviously versatility. So, guys, sim your character, sim the different legendary combinations combined with different talent choices, and mess around with your stat weights. Get your stat weights, go back into game and plug them into pawn, and then you'll be able to identify which pieces of gear are best suited for you. And don't trust pawn always, especially with trinkets. Sim it. The simulation craft has been regularly been updating. I think the Dark Arbiter APL has been fixed. I am not 100% sure, but if not, you'll see a major spike in DPS when it is fixed, so that's okay, but stay patient, guys. There's still a week left until Tim Sargeras comes out. So that pretty much sums up stat priorities and stat weight, guys. Let's head into the talents. Okay, guys, talents is probably the biggest thing that has changed and affected everything in this patch. It has all changed for Unholy. Soropa is being outperformed by Dark Arbiter and Defile. Basically like a 50k DPS increase by me taking Dark Arbiter and using the legendary shoulders. Now, a lot of you are probably going to ask, can I use Dark Arbiter without the legendary shoulders? Can I switch from Frost to Unholy without having the legendary shoulders? According to the Discord, I haven't done my own tests, but I do believe that Dark Arbiter is still better than Soropa with the Mastery build. It's still outperforming Soropa, but because of the massive buffs that it got and the cooldown reduction. But if you have the legendary shoulders and of course Convergence of Fate, it's gonna do way more than Soropa, guys. I'm sure Soropa is still viable, but Dark Arbiter is, when it's beating Soropa by like 30-50k DPS, you tend to lean in favor of Dark Arbiter. So let's go over each of the different talents, and as on screen right now, this is my current single target build. So I'll go over each talent individually and then go over which one I think is the best row for single target, guys. Okay, so the first row, Ebon Fever, is still disgusting. Virulent Plague damage is everything for us. It's still our #1 relic. Yep. So Ebon Fever is still very, very strong. Now, I cannot say that Bursting Swords with the wrists is actually beating Ebon Fever. I don't think it is. With the nerf to the braces only bursting 1 to 2 wounds, I think Ebon Fever is god. You cannot beat that. All serve, no. So Ebon Fever, guys, 100%. Do not change or alter that in any way. On certain fights where there's a lot of ads, so like Scorpirion, you could even say Spellblade. Sure, Ebon Fever could be strong. Bursting Swords could be stronger, but that you have to sim yourself with your own stat weight and character gear. That is totally up to you. The next row, it's very close. Pestilent Pustules and Blighted Room Weapon. That comes mainly down to playstyle preference, guys. Pestilent Pustules, you will not really have any runes. You won't be rune starved. It's a very smooth rotation. Blighted Room Weapon, if you are not a fan of Black Claws and you do enjoy always having runes up when Dark Transformation is available, definitely go Blighted Room Weapon, but it's completely up to you. Pestilent Pustules does sim better, but that's because of the nature of the talent, I believe. But again, up to you. Epidemic, I have not tested, but this is for single target, so I'm not going to talk about it. Right, next row, Unholy Frenzy, Castigator, Clawing Shadows. Unholy Frenzy, for me, personally, with DA, is simming like 30 to 40k more than Clawing Shadows. Why? Because at one point, you're going to see in the rotations that I do in a second. In one rotation, I had like 5 sudden doom procs in a row, just because of Unholy Frenzy. So Unholy Frenzy, when a Festering Wound bursts, you get 100% attack speed for 2.5 seconds. So sudden doom procs are based on your attack speed, your auto attack hits. So this is increasing your attack speed, and it's going to make the Dark Arbiter, the time that your Dark Arbiter is up, really powerful. Like, you're going to get so many sudden doom procs, and more death coils is just way more DPS. So you got to ask yourselves, are you going to be on a boss where you're going to be in range of the boss the whole time? See, if the boss is moving and you just pop Dark Arbiter, and you're really going to lose out by taking this talent. So you want to be on a boss that is standstill, or when you pop Dark Arbiter, the boss is still. So you have to try and like time the mechanics with this ability. A high moving fight like, for example, Elisandre, could be questionable whether you take on Holy Frenzy or not. I personally think on high mobility fights, Clawing Shadows will pull ahead because you're not connecting with the boss enough. Yeah, Elisandre is a good example. Gul'dan, you're mostly on him, so I think Unholy Frenzy is standard, but this is going to come down to the boss fights in Sargeras, guys. So, yep, down to personal preference. If you have Dark Arbiter and Legendary Shoulders, Unholy Frenzy will sim better, and in an ideal perfect patchwork fight, Unholy Frenzy is better. Right, so this row, Sludge Vulture, it's a minor DPS increase. You get a second hook and stun. And for the next row, Lingering Apparition, up to personal preference, and of course comes down to the boss mechanics, guys. If there's a high movement fight, Unholy does suffer, and this will really help you move around the room and get to the boss or the specific ads that you need to get to. If there are mechanics that you can dodge and that can help make your life easier, Spell Eater, 100%. So purely down to the boss mechanics, guys, and a little bit of personal preference. So that's an easy row. Next one is so controversial, guys. Shadow Infusion or Infected Claws. Fucking Croesus. Shadow Infusion or Infected Claws. Right, now the thing is, I have the Legendary Shoulders, so Shadow Infusion is 100% go-to. That is not even a question. So if you have Legendary Shoulders, Shadow Infusion is 100%. Why? Okay, so with Shadow Infusion, after doing like 10 or so pulls, I noticed that basically on average my Dark Transformation was on a cooldown of 40 seconds. So this helps reduce the cooldown, and instead of 1 minute, it was around 40 to 45 second cooldown. So you need to pair this up with Dark Arbiter. Every time you want to use Dark Arbiter, Dark Transformation should be popped just before. I'll go over it in the rotation part of the guide next. But you need to line this up, and in a boss fight you should be. So 40 seconds, basically means that you can use this around, by the third time you use this after you've used Dark Arbiter, it should be up. So you want to always be lining them up, and of course be getting the maximum amount of effect out of your Dark Arbiter. That is going to boost your damage on your Dark Arbiter so much. And as I said, I'll go over that in the rotation part of the video. So for those of you that don't have legendary shoulders, I recommend simming it for yourself and just doing and playing around with Shadow Infusion and Effective Claws and to see what you feel is better. On a single target fight though, it's going to be somewhat close, but it does help so much by having legendary shoulders, because Shadow Infusion is without a doubt the best option. But Infected Claws is still very strong, especially if you're pairing your if you have the wrists, for example, or other various legendaries. It's going to be very, very close without the shoulders. And if any of you are simming it and you get the results, please let me know down in the comments what you are getting for your results. But as I said, sim for yourself, guys, and see. And the last row, guys, is pretty much everything that has just changed in whole of this patch with Dark Arbiter. It is the go-to talent for single target fights, without a doubt. Legendary shoulders or no, you go Dark Arbiter. I think for me personally, as I said before, simming around 50k now, 50k DPS more than Soul Reaper. Soul Reaper can still be strong on like 1 to 2 target fights, I guess, but Defile, the buffs to Defile are filthy. Filthy. You need to go check out in a Mythic Plus the damage that you can do with Defile, guys. And if you have Legendary Helm, like Dunzos, you will be picking Defile for every cleave and AOE fight into Sargeras. But I recommend trying out different talent combinations in Nighthold before you go into Sargeras, and most importantly getting used to the single target build of DA, because that is what we are primarily using into Sargeras, guys. Right, so that sums up single target. Let's get into the AoE. Right, guys, for the AoE rotation, I think the best way to actually look at this is by looking at the most recent WoW logs for Nighthold Mythic that everyone just ran, and basically the different talent combinations that people found the most DPS, that got the most DPS with. And I have to admit, Ebon Fever is so strong. Like Virulent Plague, the relics especially, it's better than Bursting Swords. And I was checking the WoW logs, I'll show you guys now. People that were doing well with Bursting Swords had the wrist. Like, you had to have the wrist to do well Bursting Swords. I mean, Bursting Swords on fights like Spellblade, you can actually benefit a lot from, because everything is staying still. They're in your D&D, and you can just spam Clawing Shadows. But otherwise, Ebon Fever and Shadow Infusion was better. But a lot of the fights I noticed in the WoW logs, people were using Dark Arbiter still on cleave fights, because I guess things are dying so fast. But Dark Arbiter can do very well in 1 to 3 target fights. Like High Botanist, a lot of people were using Dark Arbiter, but for fights like Spellblade, Defile was used without a doubt. You did not use Dark Arbiter on Spellblade, but still people were using it because of how amazing the single target burst is on Dark Arbiter, and the ads die too fast for you to benefit from an amazing Defile. But in Sargeras, ads should be up for longer periods of time, so Defile I think will come forward and become the predominant AoE talent. But let's have a look at the WoW logs. Right, guys, so here we are on High Botanist. Everyone's using Ebon Fever without a doubt. This is patch 7.2.5. Unholy Frenzy, because they don't really move that much. And as you can see, Dark Arbiter is fucking everywhere. Everywhere, guys. And Shadow Infusion, because that's paired along with Dark Arbiter. That is what is doing the best right now. People that took Infected Claws have the Instructor's 4th lesson, but everyone seems to be using the Dark Arbiter and the Legendary Wrist combination. Let's check out Spellblade, as I was talking about before. Okay, for Spellblade, as you can see, there are a few Bursting Swords in there, and most of these guys do have the braces. But even again, like I said, like, look how many Dark Arbiters are on Spellblade, because you know how fast they can actually nuke the boss. Like 3-minute death time is here, guys. And for those of the people that took Defile, they did have Legendary Helm, but Dark Arbiter, guys, it's too much of a DPS increase on a fight where the ads are going to die more than instantly. And as you can see, a lot of people had called Jaden's trinket, so they're probably bursting the ads with their trinket, D&D down, spamming clawing shadows as soon as they spawn, and they're just getting blown up because, you know, Mythic's even becoming a joke now for people to clear with the type of gear they have, especially after the patch. So that seems to be it, guys. So I think heading into Sargeras, Defile will be very strong on more than 3 ads. I think Defile will be very strong, especially with Legendary Helm. Ebon Fever is the go-to talent, guys. It's too strong. Virulent play damage is way too strong. And it will come down to if you have braces, use Infected Claws. If you want to stick with the DA build because it's a cleave fight, stick with Shadow Infusion. So that is my opinion for that, guys. If any of you guys have any testing on the PTR for AOE builds, please let me know down in the comments, just for information that is good to have. Right, guys, let's get into the rotation. And here we are, guys, the rotation. Now, before I actually show you a slow-mo down video of the actual rotation, of me doing it and giving you guys commentary, I just want to give a quick verbal explanation for those of you that have no idea about how Dark Arbiter works. So basically, Dark Arbiter is kind of like a reverse Breath of Sargeras build. You're feeding a cooldown, a resource to buff the shit out of it and do a load of damage. Now, how we feed it is runic power, and that spell is Death Coil. We're going to use Death Coil in a window of 20 seconds. We're going to use as many Death Coils as we can to buff the shit out of this Valkyrie, and by the end of it, it will be hitting the boss for, like, I've seen 2.93 million crits. It's insane. And like I said before earlier, 20% haste is the breakpoint for 10 Valkyrie casts. So the Valkyrie will strike 10 times. So it's very important that you're at 20% haste, otherwise you only get 9. And there's different cutoffs, for example. The next one's 28. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a quick run through of the rotation so you guys have an idea. Okay, so Army of the Dead 7 seconds, run in at 1 second, pre-pot 1 second, hold on to your Dark Transformation. It's not like last patch, hold on to it. Outbreak the boss, Festering Strike up until 6 wounds. If you don't get 6 wounds after 2 Festering Strikes, wait for your cooldowns to come, your runes to come off cooldown, and get that 6. You need to get 6. Once you hit 6, Apocalypse. Now this is important. You have a choice of reapplying your Outbreak, because there'll only be around 10 seconds left on your Outbreak, and you're about to use a cooldown Dark Arbiter, which is up for 20 seconds, and everything you need to do in that 20 seconds is buffing the shit out of Dark Arbiter. You haven't got time to waste GCD on Virulent Plague, so I like refreshing my Virulent Plague right after I Apocalypse. Okay, so Apocalypse, Virulent Plague, and then you want to wait for that sudden doom proc. Sometimes by then you should have one. Especially if you're taking Unholy Frenzy, you should have a sudden doom proc. If you don't, then your RNG is shit. If you haven't taken Unholy Frenzy and you haven't got one, wait. Use a few Clawing Shadows or Scourge Strikes to generate that sudden doom proc. It should come. Once you get it, you then want to Dark Arbiter, and then once your Dark Arbiter has been popped, immediately Dark Transformation. Yes, you're wasting 1 GCD on Dark Transformation, but you want to get the most out of it, okay? So Dark Arbiter, Dark Transformation, spam the shit out of that Death Coil button, guys, and just pray to the RNG gods that you get millions of sudden doom procs, guys. On a good opener, once I get Dark Arbiter going, I can do I've done between 20 and 22 million damage with Valkyrie, okay? On a mediocre one, 16 to 17 million, really bad RNG, 12 to 14. So it is RNG, that is it. Like, Dark Arbiter is RNG, Unholy is RNG. You're going to get amazing openers, and when you use Lust at the start of a boss fight as well, that added haste is going to help so much. So you've just used all your Death Coils and your running power is 0. What do? Our biggest generator of runic power is Festering Strike. Festering Strike generates 20 runic power, Scourge Strike generates 10. So the trick is, when you're on 0 runic power, you want to get runic power as soon as you can, because you're in this time constraint that Dark Arbiter is up for. So you want to Festering Strike, keep Festering Striking until you have runic power, spend it on Death Coil. When you get to around 6, 7, 8 wounds, you want to stop Festering Striking and you want to Scourge Strike instead to burst those wounds back down to 4, 5. Maybe even like 2, 3 with Dark Transformation helping you. Why? If you're 8 wounds and you're festering striking, you're just capping, you're wasting wounds for one, and you're overcapping your wounds, and you'll probably get rune starved. Then you're in shit because you have no way to generate runic power, and that's your DA is gonna just get absolutely wrecked. So festering strike up until around 5-6 wounds, then scourge strike to bring it back down. As soon as you have enough runic power to use death coil, use it. Don't even think about it. It should be a reaction. This rotation will take a lot of time to get used to, guys. It's muscle memory is a thing. Like, I'm used to sorry per apocalypse, and it's just so weird to do this. But with time, which is why you have like a week up until TOS comes out, you will get used to it. 100%, you'll be fine. After you use Dark Arbiter, it's into the normal rotation of basically just bursting your wounds and making sure that you do not cap on Death Coil. There's no excuse. Death Coil uses like half your runic power bar, so there's no excuse. And the next thing I wanted to say is, no, I'm not. I'm still here. Chill. The next thing I wanted to say is that so by the time your Dark Arbiter comes off cooldown, you will have a chance to use Apocalypse. Okay. If you have Convergence of Fate, save your Apocalypse for the next Dark Arbiter. If you do not have Convergence of Fate, like me, use your Apocalypse on cooldown. It's not worth waiting and timing up. But other than that, use your next Dark Transformation, which will be your second one, and then save your third for your next Dark Arbiter, because if you're running Shadow Infusion. If you're not running Shadow Infusion, save your next Dark Transformation for your Dark Arbiter, especially with Legendary Shoulder Pads, guys. You need to link Dark Transformation and Dark Arbiter up. So enough talking, guys. That was for the verbal learners out there. For those of you that actually want to see a demonstration of the rotation, let's fucking get into it. Alright guys, here we are. You want to Army of the Dead at 7 seconds as per usual, and then at 1 second you want to pre-pot into Outbreak. Now watch, I get a sudden Doom proc immediately. My first auto attack. So I Festering Strike, then Apocalypse, and I don't reapply my Virulent Plague here, so watch that. I'm going to DA, and then I'm going to use Dark Transformation, and then I'm going to spam my Death Coils. I don't get that lucky on my sudden Doom procs here, guys, but I'm going to burst to around 1.8 million and then sustain at about 1 million for the rest of the fight. So as you can see here, guys, I've got some sudden Doom procs, using them, Festering Striking to get my runic power up where it is, and Dark Transformation is constantly battering on the wound. So you're going to almost be fighting against your pet to try and keep those. Well, you don't want to keep the wounds up, but you primarily just want to keep pumping in runic power for your death coils. So I get rune starved here, and it's gonna Scourge Strike there, and that is done. It's 16 million damage with the DA. So now basically the next thing that's gonna come off cooldown is Dark Transformation. It's gonna come off cooldown now. That is the second Dark Transformation. You want to use it as soon as you get it. And then the next thing that's going to come off cooldown is your Apocalypse. Now, if you have Convergence of Fate, save this and save it before your DA and line it up. But I don't have Convergence of Fate, so my Dark Arbiter cooldown is a bit long. So I actually use Apocalypse right about now on cooldown. I am going to save my Dark Transformation for the next DA, because my DA came up at like 30, so my Dark Transformation came up at like 30 seconds when Valkyrie was like at 30 seconds, so I saved it. So as you can see here, guys, 3 seconds left on DA. Dark Transformation's up. I have a sudden Doom proc, Valkyrie, Dark Transformation, and then I'm spamming my Death Coils. There it is, guys. And this is not going to be as good of a Dark Arbiter as before, but it's okay. I think I do 14 million on this one. I do not reapply Virulent Plague before I do this, and look, I haven't got Virulent Plague on the target. Mistake. So, yeah, I do 15 million pretty much with that one. 11 casts there. And, yeah, that is pretty much that rotation. I'm going to show you guys again. This is a much better rotation in my opinion. Okay, so walk in, Virulent Plague, Festering Strike, Apocalypse, and then I'm going to reapply my Virulent Plague here. I have no problems with that. Dark Arbiter into Dark Transformation into spamming my Death Coils. This one I only burst up to 1.6 million, but I got a lot better procs on my DA. Go figure how that works. But yep, so as you can see there, I'm using my Festering Strike to keep my runic power up, and just using my Death Coil on cooldown. Unfortunately, I don't really get any clips where I show you my wounds actually capping, but my pet was really good at bursting down those wounds with black claws. So there we go again. So basically, if you reapply Virulent Plague just before you pop your Dark Transformation, your Virulent Plague falls off at the same time as DA, so it kind of works out for the best. So yeah, that's it, and that's pretty much it, guys. So that is going to be the rotation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me down below in the comments. And that is pretty much the rotation. I can't say anything else. I really recommend that you keep practicing it. It is muscle memory, like I said before. And I cannot wait to actually get like a really good opener of DA and show you guys. And I'm sure some of you guys have got some ridiculous damage dealt with Valkyrie. If any of you guys are in the 30 million, that's it's fucking filthy. But other than that, I'm going to conclude the guide now. That is going to be the guide, guys. That is going to be the guide for 7.25 to Sargeras. Preparation guide and some sorts to getting you guys ready for the raid. I will be making specific guides for the bosses in Sargeras and obviously other things as the patch unravels itself, and more specific things. If I find things in Dark Arbiter that I'm missing out on or I could improve, I will make a guide specifically targeting that rotation, or maybe even Defile. I really want to make a video about Mythic Plus guide now with how amazing Defile is. So you get my kind of drift. But if you guys are looking for relics, relic spreadsheets, trinkets, I really recommend checking out the Unholy Death Knight Discord. All the information is there in the form of written guides. And if you're looking for a very well written guide, check out Vice's Unholy Guide on Wowhead. Highly recommend that. On another note, I want to thank people, the various people that have donated to me in the last few months. Ambrosia specifically, thank you so much, dude. It means the world that that you're willing to donate and help me out, and it really does help making this content. It helps the whole process, and it means a lot, man. So thank you so much, and everyone else, you know who you are, but I didn't get your in-game names. But anyway, that's gonna be the video, guys. Unholy is looking good. Do not stray. Don't go Frost. And if you Frost, come to Unholy. This is where it's at right now, guys, and I'm seriously stoked for Unholy. So without further ado, enjoy the video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your mates. And have a good one, guys. Unholy for the win. MFWest out. Peace.